Hello and welcome to Walk the Talk. I am Shekhar Gupta, and you know what? Amid all this talk of war against corruption, the civil society and what it's doing about it, my guest this week is somebody who has been the leading light of the civil society for decades now, and who has given us the most potent gift or weapon we have had so far in the fight against corruption, the Right to Information Act. Aruna Roy.
Hi.
Welcome to Walk the Talk. Are you feeling a little bit bemused by what's going on?
I would say it's a very interesting period in the history of India now, because it's a challenge to our ideas, it's a challenge to what we thought, it's a challenge to the future of democracy, it's a challenge to people's voices, it's a challenge to legislative processes, and I think it's a very learning period for all of us of what to do and also what not to do.
You say interesting times almost as ominously as the Chinese do. May you live in interesting times. Elaborate a bit more on this.
Well, actually, the fight against corruption has never left the social political scene in this country. And we've been fighting against corruption, I think, small and big forever, as far as I can remember. When I was in the IAS, when I left the IAS, when I went to an NGO, then I went to a movement, it's always been an issue. It's extremely interesting and relevant to this country.
And you were in the IAS in a very illustrious batch. Many of you have become famous since. You, Wajahat Habibullah, who became our first
Information
RTI Commissioner, Gopal Gandhi.
Yes, he's also for that. Yes. But the issue that interests me now is that we've come together, and it's a great coming together. So many people, the angst has found a kind of expression. But while we say that we don't want corruption, we are all united because it's something none of us want.
Right.
But the remedy, the whole issue is the remedy. And for Anna Sahib Hazare to have become a point at which we all congregate to express our angst against corruption is, for all of us, a wonderful thing. But how do we see the process of ending corruption is where the debate begins. And I think the interesting part of the debate is that so far there has been a great possessiveness about the discourse. And I think there is a great deal of disquiet that the discourse should not leave the paradigm that has been designed in terms of a solution. But it's bound to leave that discourse. The discourse is bound to become larger because we are a very plural country, and thank God there are so many of us who think.
And a very argumentative one.
Very.
Very. So, you use the word debate. Is a debate possible in this environment?
I think the debate should be possible in any environment, and I really go back to Mahatma Gandhi and to a much more tumultuous period which they all lived through, in which there was a foreign government. And even at the time there was debate, and documents were published which we read now in the archives. And so debate, I think, is essential definitely in political issues.
In fact, some of the most fascinating debates that I now read, and unfortunately having only studied science in college, like most people of my generation, is the debate from Constituent Assembly. You just read that and makes you wonder what a smart group of people we had, and how libertarian and how prescient.
Actually, for
and how much they disagreed with each other.
They disagreed a lot.
Right.
But everything was recorded. Right. It was done within the ambit of a very mature recognition of dissent. Because dissent, if I have the right to dissent, I have the obligation to listen. See, unfortunately, in some of our public debates now, we fight
the Lokpal bill?
On the Lokpal bill, and also even on corruption. We say we have the right to dissent, but we don't have the obligation to listen. Whether it is the government which doesn't want to listen, or a campaign which doesn't want to listen, or any of us who don't want to listen. I think that an important part of growth is the listening. And I always think of Mahatma Gandhi, that he travelled the length and breadth of India just to listen to people, to fashion a political discourse. And there are always areas of discomfort, because we can't have a completely comfortable paradigm if we talk about democratic participation and people from different classes, castes, communities, and parts and regions of this country to come together.
NDTV's Cricket app, Android and iPhone. Fastest scorecard, special analysis, and much more. Download free. ndtv.com/apps.